Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for a Comics Revisited, and today we're talking about Venom Funeral Pyre. That's right, everybody. Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers Comics Revisited. It's the show where we revisit comics. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is
Brooks.
And today we're going to be talking about Venom Funeral Pyre. It was the second Venom solo miniseries. It's contained within this Venom Enemy Within trade paperback, which you can get at a link, down below. Help support the channel and check out the book. This has got some fun stories in it. It's got Funeral Pyre, The Madness, and Enemy Within. We'll be covering those over the next 3 weeks here at Pop Culture Philosophers on Comics Revisited. But today we're talking about Funeral Pyre, this one right here. It's basically a team-up between Frank Castle and Eddie Brock.
Kind of.
But ultimately what this is about is a very chilling and sobering look at gang violence in the early 90s in Oakland, California. Seriously though, so basically the story is this. Venom's been accepted to live in this underground, homeless sanctuary haven type thing at the end of Venom Lethal Protector, and across the bay, over in Oakland, crazy gang violence is going on. Now this is true. This was a true thing back in the early 90s, still exists today, gang violence. It was a serious issue, but in the early 90s, me and Brooks remember this, we were kids. This was nothing, this is what the news covered. This was it was right after the 92 LA riots, all that kind of stuff. Middle America was so damn scared of gang violence, right? This story kind of takes that on. I remember being a kid and being terrified by this story.
It's like these guys just shooting each other for no reason, really.
Yes!
They're just driving around shooting out the window.
And loving it. Loving it, right?
It's like they have no reason for doing anything except for, just because we want to kill these guys.
This may have been one of the first comic books that I read, maybe during the same, I guess this came out around the same time Maximum Carnage was kind of coming out, I guess. But this was one of the first books where, I remember reading it and seeing senseless, just nihilistic death and being, really affected by that. I remember this as a kid, dude. It really kind of, bothered me. Yeah, it really did. So anyway, there's this dude named Gray Russell, right? He's a journalist, undercover in a gang, because his dad
worked for Hydra.
Was a Hydra scientist and had this crazy superhuman.
Yeah, they have this super high-tech science lab hidden in this derelict building that this gang is occupying.
This gang just happens to occupy it, so Gray obviously goes undercover into the gang to find out what his dad was up to, right? Because he uncovered some journals or whatever, right? So then the gang is pressuring him that you're going to have to kill somebody in a drive-by in order to, is initiation, right? You have to kill somebody to be initiated into the gang. And it's hitting that point where it's about to happen. So he sends a note.
Yeah, this gang is so stupid. They're just father and son.
It's an uncle and nephew.
Yeah, uncle and nephew just walking through the neighborhood for no reason. Let's kill that guy by running.
They run him over.
Yeah, and then he gets away and he starts limping up a building.
And they chase him up the building.
They chase him up and make him jump off the building while his nephew's
with a gimp leg. Yeah,
scared and hiding.
Yeah. So Gray helps the nephew and tells him, "You got to send word out to the police. I'm in danger. They're going to make me kill somebody, and I'm stuck." Right?
Yeah.
Now, if he's really undercover, surely he could have gotten away with whatever. Right? Who knows? Right? There's tons of crazy real stories, I'm sure, kind of about this type stuff from the early 90s. Anyway, the word, because the kid winds up living in the underground sanctuary where Venom lives at, he gives the word to Venom.
So Venom, we don't trust the cops, but we'll trust you, Venom.
So Venom goes after trying to find Gray, who is being able to, he can tell who he is because he got a birthmark on his neck. Right? Meanwhile, Punisher, on his way back from LA to New York, hears for the first time, I guess, about the gang violence in Oakland, California, and says,
I will make a pit stop there.
Yep, got to go stop over in Oakland. So Frank shows up and basically incites a gang war.
Well, it's less a war with the Punisher. It's more like I come in and kill everybody.
He comes in and kills it, but it causes chaos, and all the gangs start going after one another, and he's after everybody, and everything's just going crazy, right? So while Venom's trying to find this Gray dude, Punisher's there. So Punisher shows up, Venom shows up, Venom kicks Punisher's ass. Then Punisher, after doing a little bit of Google research, before Google even existed, because of Micro, right? And that Punisher van was the thing back in the day, man. Yes, man. So that happens, and he finds out that he's vulnerable to Sonics. Now, one thing that we didn't even mention last week, but every single one of these, of course, the Venom symbiote is vulnerable to Sonics and to fire. So every villain's going to figure this out and figure out how to stop him. So Punisher shows up, has the sonic ray on him, and he traps him in that little cage or whatever. He goes off on this rampage. Venom shows up. My favorite thing is that Venom just goes after these dudes and just like snatches dudes up and looks at their neck.
He checks each of them.
And then he just throws them back.
You're not the one.
Yeah, right? Meanwhile, Frank's going around just killing all these gang members, causing all this chaos on the streets of Oakland. They eventually cross paths again. He eventually convinces Frank to help him. So they're going after... Frank is actually going after the gang, the Jadus. Right? Right? Who wrote this?
This gang named themselves after... They must have been like Star Wars.
That was Carl Potts.
It's like some deep Star Wars reference that nobody would get.
Carl Potts wrote Punisher at the time. He wrote Punisher when Jim Lee was on it. Carl Potts wrote this. And Tom Lyle was the penciler and did a really, really good job on the penciling. Seriously, we want to talk about the art real quick. I really like the artwork. It's pretty solid. Venom still got a very questionable fashion sense. The coloring's a little 90s and muted, but I kind of like the tones that are going on. I like the intense, like, gritting of teeth that the Punisher does in every single panel. I really like this interaction between Frank and Eddie. I think it does a really good job with that. But ultimately what happens is that Frank goes after the Jadus. Carl's the writer. Gray has to eventually, because Venom doesn't show up in time, he has to kill some people on drive-by in order to like maintain his cover, right? And then he goes back to the place, and Punisher's on a rampage. He shows up at their headquarters. He's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go down to the secret lab and jump into this experiment that was just conveniently left ready.
And here's the funny thing is in this whole scenario. Okay, this guy finds this like super secret high-tech Hydra lab in this gang's hideout. And he's like, okay, I found it finally. And then other gang member dude comes running up and he's like, hey man, what'd you find here? A super secret high-tech hideout? Forget that. We gotta go kill these guys.
But he says that because the Punisher's out there and he's coming, man. So Gray.
No. This is before.
This is before that. That's right.
Because they were going after their gang war.
And then he has to kill them. That's when Gray has to kill the people.
Yeah.
So then they come back.
This gang member just like, who cares about this?
Who cares? We're gonna go kill some
high-tech lab. We're gonna kill these people instead.
Yeah, right. It is crazy. There's a lot of leaps in this book, right? I have fun with this book. I think it's really, really fun. Yeah. We'll get into what we truly think in just a minute. So Frank eventually comes to their headquarters. Gray jumps into this experiment that's conveniently just left open and ready. Just you hit the button and jump in and we're good.
And those gang members could have built a super gang army by
now. Right. And he's like, hopefully this will give me superpowers because it's the only thing that's going to save me. So he jumps in and guess what? Gives him superpowers. He has microwave radiation now. And he blasts Frank, right? Blah, blah, blah.
So he's like a Firestar, but...
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, he's like Firestar, but a dude. With less of a cool fashion sense. Yeah. Anyway. So then Venom shows up, and he's just getting creamed, right? Punisher and him have to show up. Punisher's leg's messed up. They eventually save the day. While Gray is trying to kill Venom because he's all like, you didn't save me, where were you?
Yeah, he's a whiny ass.
Yeah, and he knocks that like elevator shaft, like the elevator like onto him or something. And he eventually gets crushed and they're like, the end? And I don't think this character ever came back. And he was even like, he came up with a superhero name already, like a supervillain name. Call me Pyre, because this was my funeral pyre. Now, I remember being a kid reading this and being very affected by the death that was going on in the story. Like... And you read it now and you're like, this is some sensationalized early 90s gang violence type stuff.
It was also senseless. It's like they didn't really have any good reason for doing any of the killing they did. It's just like, we're in the gangs, we gotta kill people.
But that is exactly what it was like, especially at least what we were hearing about in the early 90s. So it really plays on those fears post-LA riots. Hera agrees. We definitely think that it was trying to be relevant of the time. It seems very silly today, but I think it holds up. I really think the book is good. I think that Tom Lyle's pencils... I think that Tom Lyle's pencils are amazing. I think they're glorious. I think there's a lot of detail to it. I think there's a lot of emotion in it. I really think it's a good book. And some of the artwork, like when Venom's getting all the symbiote like smashed off of him by Pyre right here. Look at that double-page spread, dude. It's beautiful, right? I really think it's good. I like the artwork. What do you think about the artwork?
I thought it was good. It was, it wasn't as good as Bagley's, but it was still, good. Venom looked good. It was decent.
It was definitely good. I think the artwork is solid. The line work is great, solid. Great sequential storytelling. I think the story's pretty decent. Carl Potts is obviously, it's a little too sensationalist, but it's because it was done in 1993.
Yeah.
You know, and the gang violence, especially over on the West Coast, was something that was really new to Middle America, to white America. And it stoked a lot of fear. I remember being a kid and just being taught about, you know, don't join a gang. And I'm like, this is Huntsville, Alabama. Like, do we really got to worry about this? You know, I remember thinking about it. I remember thinking this was like what life was going to be like as an adult, man. And Funeral Pyre just wrecked me, dude. And basically, dude kills himself to save himself from the Punisher and Venom. And I don't know. I remember it being very chilling to me when I was a child. I really do. I don't know. Overall thoughts. What do you think? Would you recommend it?
Oh yeah. I think it's if you're a Venom fan or a Punisher fan or both, I think you'd really like it.
If you're both, it's essential.
Yeah. If you're not into, you know, the kind of over violence.
Then don't read comics from 1993.
Exaggerated violence and darkness thing, you probably wouldn't dig it as much. But I enjoy it well enough for what it is.
Absolutely. I think it's a great book. I was very pleased to revisit it. It brought back a lot of nostalgia. And it actually still rang a little true for me. And I really thought it was cool. And I still found it to be just a little bit chilling. I liked it just as much then as I did back then. And I have a lot of nostalgic feelings tied up to these early Venom miniseries. Speaking of which, we're going to be talking next week about Venom the Madness. That's right, with Venom versus Juggernaut. So basically from this point, after Lethal Protector, even at Lethal Protector, each Venom miniseries is a team-up.
Yeah.
First one, Lethal Protector is Spider-Man.
A guest star kid.
Punisher and Funeral Pyre. And in the Madness, we get the Juggernaut. So we're going to be talking about that next week. Please do join us. But in the meantime, let us know your thoughts and your memories and what you think about Venom Funeral Pyre in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Comics Revisited at Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is
Brooks.
the magnificent he is and magnificent you are for joining us here at Pop Culture Philosophers. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/PCP, where you can unlock early access to videos such as Movie Monday, Comics Revisited, Robbie's Top 5, and more. A lot of stuff over there for you guys to check out.
That is a lot of stuff.
It is. And there's more.
More.
And more. In fact, more will be coming next week when we talk about Venom the Madness here on Comics Revisited.
Written by Alan Moore.
No.
Just kidding. It's not.
What if Alan Moore wrote Venom? Thank you guys for checking us out at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a lot more. You dig? Comics Revisited. I don't have a sign-off for this one yet. We should come up with one.
Yeah, probably.
How about, it's Venom, right? So how about, we are...
Okay, it'll take a little more time.
Yeah, maybe next week.